Hello, welcome to the Tim Booker channel. I wish you all a pleasant listening experience. Today, I'll be interpreting the book, Pour Your Heart Into It. It has a subtitle called, How Starbucks Built a Company One Cup at a Time. Starbucks is the world's largest coffee chain and coffee retailer, ranking 40th in the 2019 Fortune Global 500 list. In August 2020, Starbucks made its debut on the Fortune Global 500 list, ranking second in the subcategory of the food service industry. In China, Starbucks has opened over 4,400 stores in more than 180 cities, becoming Starbucks' largest overseas market. Holding a Starbucks cup has become a fashion statement for many professionals. When talking about Starbucks, we must mention Howard Schultz, the former chairman of Starbucks board and the driving force behind Starbucks' success. However, what many people don't know is that Howard Schultz wasn't the true founder of Starbucks. It was three young artists from Seattle, Jerry Baldwin, writer Gordon Boker, and history teacher Zev Siegel. At that time, Starbucks didn't sell coffee beverages, they only sold coffee beans. Howard Schultz, on the other hand, was once an employee of Starbucks, and the three founders were his bosses. So, how did Starbucks transform from a coffee bean store into the world's largest coffee enterprise? How did Howard Schultz evolve from an employee into a globally renowned entrepreneur? This book will provide you with the answers. The book recounts Starbucks' development from 1971 to 1997, and one of the authors is Howard Schultz himself. He personally narrates the business legend he helped create at Starbucks, offering valuable insights. Additionally, this book serves as Schultz's autobiography, telling the story of a kid from a Brooklyn housing project who achieved his life's dreams and became a world-class entrepreneur. Schultz hopes that this book can inspire people to pursue their own dreams and, in his words, not let the possibility of failure scare them. Now, I will divide this book's main content into three parts. Part 1, Schultz's growth and his encounter with Starbucks. Part 2, Schultz's leadership at Starbucks and its rapid expansion. Part 3, Starbucks' journey towards internationalization after going public. First, let's start with Part 1, Schultz's encounter with Starbucks. Howard Schultz was born in 1952 into a Jewish working-class family in the humble neighborhood of New York. He grew up in the affordable housing projects of Brooklyn, which, at the time, was notorious for its high crime rates and was often associated with chaos and squalor. Schultz's father was a blue-collar worker who had worked as a truck driver and in various manual labor jobs. The family constantly struggled with financial hardships. One year, Schultz's father suffered an injury at work, leaving the family without income, medical insurance, or workers' compensation. His father, with his feet in casts, lay on the sofa in a state of poverty that deeply affected Schultz. He believed that work should provide dignity and vowed that if he ever had the opportunity, he would ensure that no one he knew would end up in such a dire situation. This mindset of Schultz later had a significant impact on Starbucks' values. Schultz's academic performance in the public schools near his community was average, but he possessed natural athletic talent and excelled in various sports. He was competitive and exceptionally dedicated to his passions. Two incidents during Schultz's high school years had a profound impact on him. Firstly, he made it onto the school's football team but couldn't afford the sports uniform, nearly devastating him. He borrowed money from a friend to resolve the issue and hid the clothing from his parents until they could afford it. Secondly, he once invited a girl from another neighborhood in New York, and when her father learned that Schultz lived in a low-income apartment in Brooklyn, he displayed a clear and disrespectful disdain, deeply hurting Schultz's self-esteem. For a time, Schultz felt ashamed of his upbringing in Brooklyn and even concealed this part of his life from others. Schultz's first major turning point in life came when he received a football scholarship to attend Northern Michigan University, providing him with the opportunity to go to college. Although his college performance was average, it gave him the confidence to dream big. After graduating, Schultz returned to New York and joined the marketing department of Xerox Corporation. At Xerox, he received top-notch sales training in the United States, learning marketing strategies, sales techniques, and presentation skills. Leveraging his sales experience at Xerox, Schultz later became the head of the American division of a Swedish home furnishings company, earning a high salary of $75,000 per year. Within 6 years of graduating from college, he purchased an apartment in Manhattan, establishing his own home. In 1981, while working for the Swedish home furnishings company, Schultz came across a company that had ordered a batch of coffee grinding machines, piquing his curiosity. At that time, Americans typically brewed coffee using percolators or drip machines. He flew to investigate the matter and discovered that the company in question was Starbucks, located in Seattle. Starbucks was a small business that sold coffee beans and was founded by 3 coffee enthusiasts in 1971. When Schultz visited, Starbucks had only 4 stores. Starbucks imported premium coffee beans from South America and other regions, roasted them themselves, and found that the darker the roast, the more flavor the coffee released. They ground the roasted coffee beans into a powder, creating a coffee with a rich aroma, vastly different from instant coffee. Starbucks purchased coffee grinders to grind coffee powder in-store for customers to enjoy. Upon tasting Starbucks coffee, Schultz was immediately captivated by its rich and aromatic flavor. He felt that the coffee he had consumed previously was nothing more than coffee-flavored water. At that time, the majority of Americans drank instant coffee, which had a relatively uniform taste, and many believed that coffee came exclusively from canned powder. Encountering Starbucks offered Schultz an entirely new perspective. Schultz desired to join Starbucks and make it a larger and stronger company. Subsequently, he spent a year convincing Starbucks shareholders to hire him. Schultz gave up his high-paying job in New York and moved his family to Seattle. He became the marketing and retail manager at Starbucks and secured a small portion of Starbucks stock. At that time, Starbucks had only 5 stores. Initially, Schultz started by working in coffee bean sales. However, during a business trip to Italy, Schultz was inspired to open coffee shops. During his time in Italy, he noticed the widespread popularity of coffee shops that served freshly brewed espresso. The atmosphere was filled with the romantic aroma of coffee, and the relationships between the baristas and customers were warm and friendly. Coffee shops had become social gathering places. Back in the United States, such instant coffee shops were mainly found in Italian-American neighborhoods. Schultz had a revelation: he wanted to replicate the concept of instant freshly ground coffee shops across the entire country. Starbucks had a natural advantage in this regard because they were already a premium coffee bean roaster. Schultz's vision coincided with the growing trend of coffee becoming a gourmet experience, where people started to appreciate the flavors and nuances of coffee. Starbucks seized this opportunity. However, at that time, the majority shareholders at Starbucks had a conservative business approach and were not interested in the idea of selling coffee beverages in their stores. This significant difference in vision led to Schultz's departure from Starbucks. In 1985, Schultz pursued his vision by investing in and establishing a coffee shop named Il Giornale. In 1987, Starbucks faced challenges due to an unsuccessful business acquisition that impacted its overall performance. Shareholders decided to sell the company, prompting Schultz to gather a group of investors to purchase Starbucks. Schultz now owned Starbucks. He abandoned the Il Giornale brand and merged it with Starbucks. At the age of 35, Schultz was finally able to realize his vision. This concludes the first part of the story, where Schultz seized 3 critical turning points: education opportunities, success in the sales industry, and the discovery and acquisition of Starbucks. Now, let's move on to the second part of the content: Schultz's leadership and Starbucks' rapid expansion. How significant was Schultz's influence on Starbucks during his tenure? To put it simply, the iconic green mermaid logo of Starbucks almost became a symbol of American life at that time. He revolutionized American coffee culture. When Schultz took over Starbucks in 1987, along with Il Giornale, there were a total of 9 stores. Just 4 years later, in 1991, Starbucks had expanded to over 100 stores, with annual sales reaching $57 million. In 1992, Starbucks successfully went public on NASDAQ. 3 key factors contributed to Starbucks' remarkable success within such a short period. Firstly, Starbucks completely transformed the customer coffee experience. In terms of products, Starbucks elevated coffee to a gourmet level, teaching people to savor authentic, freshly ground coffee. As mentioned earlier, during the 1970s, the majority of Americans consumed instant coffee, which was of lower quality and had a consistent, uninspiring taste. In contrast, Starbucks offered freshly ground coffee made from high-quality beans, resulting in a vastly superior taste. Starbucks introduced instant classics like the latte, a mixture of steamed milk and espresso, which many customers had never heard of before but quickly grew to love. Starbucks not only provided freshly ground coffee but also diversified its product offerings, responding to customer requests by introducing options like lattes and cappuccinos made with non-fat milk. The act of grinding coffee beans on-site added a ceremonial aspect to the experience. Skilled baristas prepared coffee with deft and graceful movements while engaging in friendly conversations with customers. These factors enhanced the overall customer experience. Additionally, Starbucks successfully cultivated a relaxed and welcoming atmosphere, enticing customers to meet friends and socialize at Starbucks locations. Unintentionally, Starbucks became the third place in people's lives, besides work and home, a concept introduced by American sociologist Ray Oldenburg. Oldenburg's core theory is that people need informal, public spaces to escape the pressures of work and home, where they can unwind, meet, and engage in social activities. Starbucks' ambience inadvertently satisfied this need, positioning it as a crucial social gathering place. The third place idea gained momentum, and Starbucks became a space where people could escape the rigors of everyday life, fostering a sense of community. Schultz's visionary leadership and his ability to redefine the coffee experience played a pivotal role in Starbucks' rapid expansion and success. Now, let's talk about how Starbucks expanded its reach across regions and achieved growth. Starbucks primarily addressed four key challenges. 1. Solving the distribution problem for coffee beans. Distributing fresh coffee beans over long distances posed a significant challenge, as extended transport could compromise the beans' unique flavor and quality. Starbucks overcame this challenge by using vacuum packaging, eliminating the need to establish roasting facilities in every city. This strategic move allowed them to rapidly expand across the country. 2. Addressing capital requirements for expansion. Prior to Starbucks' IPO, the company raised substantial capital through 4 rounds of funding, totaling over $36 million. Despite initial losses due to rapid expansion between 1987 and 1989, Starbucks achieved profitability in 1990, with an annual growth rate of 80%. This track record instilled confidence in investors, ensuring a steady stream of funding. 3. Emphasizing company-owned stores for quality control. To maintain consistent quality during early rapid expansion, Schultz insisted on company-owned stores and refrained from franchising. While Starbucks eventually incorporated franchised stores after 1991, they continued to prioritize company-owned locations. This approach ensured control over product quality and customer experience. 4. Building brand influence. Establishing a unique brand presence was crucial for a chain coffee shop to succeed in different cities and regions. Starbucks strategically selected central cities for expansion, leveraging their cultural influence and population density. For instance, when entering the vast California market in 1991, they chose Los Angeles as the initial city due to its prominence in fashion, sports, and cultural trends. Starbucks quickly gained success in Los Angeles, with the Los Angeles Times even dubbing it the best coffee in America. The positive demonstration effect of a central city like Los Angeles facilitated further expansion into other California cities. In 1987, when Schultz acquired Starbucks, he promised investors that the company would open 125 new stores within 5 years. However, by 1992, Starbucks had already opened more than 150 stores, surpassing the original target. Schultz's leadership and vision, along with these strategic moves, fueled Starbucks' rapid expansion and growth. Furthermore, Schultz's emphasis on building a unique corporate culture played a pivotal role in Starbucks' internal development. One of the key elements of this culture was the partner philosophy, focusing on a people-centric approach. Schultz took pride in offering comprehensive healthcare coverage to all employees, including part-time workers and their families, starting in 1988. This was an unprecedented move in the retail industry, contrasting with the prevalent focus on maximizing shareholder profits. In 1991, Schultz convinced the board to initiate the innovative Bean Stock program, granting stock options to every employee. Starbucks also stopped using the term employee, referring to all company members as partners, fostering a culture of mutual respect and trust. Moreover, Schultz actively engaged partners in decision-making processes. For instance, when drafting Starbucks' mission statement, he sought input from every partner. The company encouraged open communication and allowed partners to voice concerns or suggestions through methods like comment cards. The partner philosophy led to motivated employees who genuinely cared about the company and its customers. It also significantly reduced employee turnover, saving Starbucks substantial training costs. The roots of the partner philosophy lay in Schultz's personal belief that every worker, including blue-collar employees, deserved respect and confidence from senior management. This philosophy in Schultz's visionary leadership culminated on June 26, 1992, when Starbucks went public on Nasdaq. On its debut, Starbucks stock price defied market trends, reaching a total market capitalization of $273 million. This was a remarkable feat considering Schultz had bought Starbucks for less than $4 million just 5 years earlier. By 1992, Starbucks had transformed from a company with 9 stores during Schultz's acquisition in 1987 to over 160 stores. It had become a national coffee chain, and Schultz, at the age of 40, graced the cover of Fortune magazine. Fortune aptly stated, under Howard Schultz's leadership, Starbucks turned coffee beans into gold. That concludes the second part of the content, discussing how Schultz led Starbucks into becoming a national coffee chain through rapid expansion and a unique corporate culture. Now, let's discuss the third part of the content. From its initial public offering, IPO, to 1997, Starbucks embarked on a journey towards internationalization. Although Starbucks had achieved its IPO, Howard Schultz was not content. His greater vision was to create the world's most respected coffee brand and become the largest global coffee chain. So, how did Starbucks move towards becoming a global enterprise? This transformation primarily manifested in 3 aspects. 1. Enhancing brand management. According to Schultz, during Starbucks' early years, they never deliberately created a brand. However, they unintentionally set a trend for a fashionable brand. Every aspect of Starbucks store design was meticulously crafted to deepen the brand image. Everything that customers saw, heard, and experienced contributed to this brand identity. For instance, Starbucks partners, employees, were prohibited from wearing perfumes or colognes to ensure customers enjoyed the pure aroma of coffee. During the initial decade of rapid expansion, Starbucks spent less than $10 million on advertising, choosing instead to invest in employee training. For example, the training cost per new employee exceeded $3,000 per year. While word-of-mouth recommendations from partners played a significant role initially, Starbucks realized that merely relying on word-of-mouth was insufficient for international expansion. Starbucks needed to transform its products into cultural symbols. To achieve this, Schultz spent 18 months selecting professionals to upgrade the Starbucks brand. They planned a series of advertisements, such as the 1996 summer campaign, which made coffee seem cool and gave it an unexpected alternative image. 2. Sustaining product innovation. Starbucks made substantial investments, spending millions of dollars on equipment and establishing cutting-edge research centers and test factories to experiment with and extract coffee essence for product innovation. Additionally, Starbucks collaborated with international giants like PepsiCo and Dreyer's ice cream for joint products. For example, Starbucks developed new bottled coffee beverages like Frappuccino and successfully sold them through PepsiCo's distribution channels. Another partnership involved infusing Starbucks-developed coffee essence into Dreyer's ice cream products. These collaborations marked a significant shift in Starbucks' business model, enabling products to break free from the confines of their stores and reach a broader market through supermarkets and other retail channels. 3. Elevating management standards. Starbucks faced challenges and crises along its growth path. For instance, in 1987, when Starbucks initially ventured into Chicago, poor site selection resulted in continuous losses, leading to store closures. During Christmas in 1995, several regions where Starbucks operated experienced snowstorms, forcing store closures and causing severe business pressure. One of Starbucks' most significant crises occurred in 1994 when coffee bean prices surged. In June of that year, severe frost in Brazil led to a gradual 330% increase in coffee bean prices. As a publicly traded company with 350 stores, Starbucks faced multiple operational pressures. Starbucks had to make a tough business decision, whether to purchase coffee beans at significantly higher prices that could potentially rise even further or wait for prices to drop, reducing cost pressures. After careful consideration and painful deliberation, Starbucks decided to stockpile high-priced coffee beans to mitigate the risk of further cost increases. However, shortly after the purchase, coffee bean prices dropped, leaving Starbucks with a surplus of high-priced beans that took 2 years to deplete. This crisis prompted Starbucks to significantly enhance back-end management. They immediately upgraded the logistics system for efficiency, improved packaging assembly lines, and enhanced operational standards in warehousing and roasting to save costs. By 1997, when coffee bean prices doubled once again, Starbucks was well prepared and effectively handled the storm, thanks to its improved cost control capabilities. That concludes the third part of the content, highlighting how Starbucks strengthened its brand management, sustained product innovation, and elevated management standards as it moved toward international expansion from its IPO to 1997. After going public, Starbucks enhanced its brand management, continued to innovate its products, and experienced rapid growth while working through crises, all in pursuit of its goal of becoming an international corporate giant. Today, Starbucks is still in rapid expansion mode, but it faces rising competition from formidable rivals like the UK-based brand Costa and China Resources-owned Pacific Coffee, among others, each with its unique strengths. The competition among coffee chains is intensifying. In the year 2000, Howard Schultz stepped down as CEO and entrusted Starbucks to his entrepreneurial partner, Orrin Smith, while assuming the role of chairman. Nevertheless, whenever Starbucks faced crises, Schultz would step back into action. In 2008, during the financial crisis, Starbucks saw a significant decline in performance, prompting Schultz's return. He slowed down domestic growth in the United States and focused on emerging markets, leading Starbucks to rapid growth once again. In 2017, Schultz stepped down as Starbucks CEO once more, no longer overseeing day-to-day operations. By this time, Starbucks had expanded from approximately 16,000 stores in 2008 to around 30,000 stores globally. Starbucks had reached another level of scale. In April 2018, a Starbucks store in Philadelphia was involved in a racial discrimination incident that sparked public outrage. Schultz, as Starbucks chairman, took decisive action, including store closures and racial bias education for employees, to rectify the situation. Throughout these periods of return, Schultz consistently guided Starbucks out of adversity, remaining the driving force behind the company. In 1999, when Starbucks planned to open stores in Beijing, few Americans believed that Chinese people would develop a taste for coffee, given their preference for tea. However, China has now become Starbucks' largest engine for global market growth. Starbucks has become a model of global business management. Even Jack Ma publicly stated his intention to learn from Starbucks. In Ma's eyes, Starbucks is not just selling coffee, it is providing new services, experiences, and a new way of life. Schultz possesses unconventional thinking, and he often quotes Irish playwright George Bernard Shaw, "Some see things as they are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and ask why not." Schultz's unique perspective has transformed coffee into a lifestyle. As we conclude, whether Schultz returns or not, he remains the soul of Starbucks. Thank you for listening to this book. We appreciate your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. Let's combine wisdom with practice to achieve our financial goals and create a better future. Thank you, and goodbye.